Hello and welcome to the Budget Knitter Podcast. My name is WSpargurKnits. I'm your host. Today is episode 41, Decisions, and we'll talk about that more later in the podcast. But for those of you who are new, thank you for finding my channel and joining me today. For those of you who are returning, thank you for coming back. You can find me on Ravelry as WSpargurKnits. You can find me on Instagram as WSpargurKnits. That has changed. I am no longer WillMSU. I did update it to be WSpargurKnits. I'm also on Twitter as WSpargurKnits. I am on Facebook as facebook.com/thebudgetknitter. And there's a multitude of other social links in the video description box below. For those of you who have followed me for a while, I have closed the Etsy shop. Etsy has made several changes in regards to like the shipping policy, and it's just, there's a lot of politicking in how they want to provide. Basically, they want to give priority to those who offer free shipping, which is really harmful to smaller sellers on Etsy who can't afford to give free shipping without then putting it into the cost of the product itself. And I think that's a really terrible move by Etsy. I don't like that they've done that, because now instead of kind of having an even playing field on where we show up in search listings, if we don't offer free shipping, then we get shoved to the bottom, and I don't think that's fair. And also, I think just things have kind of grown with me, and that Etsy is no longer kind of the selling area that I want to have. It's just not the platform I want to use anymore. So Etsy has been closed. You cannot purchase anything of mine through Etsy any longer. But don't worry, there will be ways for people who view this podcast to continue making purchases through any of the products that I create in the form of coupon codes and things like that. So if you're worried about whether or not you're going to be able to continue to get some of the things that I've been providing for you guys, don't worry, I'm making some changes in that area too. We'll discuss that more as those things progress. Other than that, there's a Ravelry group for this. Again, all of those things are in the video description box below. Go ahead and check that out. If you're one of those people who likes to skip around, there are going to be timestamps in the video description box below as well. So if you are looking just for finished objects or something like that, you are free to jump around and click any of those time signatures, and it'll take you right to that point in the video. So for those of you who like to kind of just get what you came here for and move on, that is there for your use. So for those of you who are new, I like to go straight into my works in progress and my finished objects, and then we'll do some other kind of yarny and fiber related updates, and then after that my life updates are at the end. So if you're not interested in any of the things going on in my personal life, you can scurry on along and go on to your next podcast or whatever you are doing for the rest of the day. And for those of you who like to stay and find out what's going on in my personal life, we'll do that at the end. Alright, another thing is I have switched to trying out my new camera. I like using my phone. It gives such a wide angle shot though, and I can't do a lot of the things that I would like to be able to do with my phone that I can do with this camera. So the only thing is I can only film in about 10-minute increments. So about every 10 minutes I'll have to stop the video and restart. So there will be a lot of editing to this video, a lot of cuts to the next frame, but I hope that that's not going to be distracting. If it is distracting, this is just a test. We're going to see how it does for a longer video. I do intend to continue using it for my shorter videos, but for longer videos, this is a test to see how it works. If it is too much of an issue, we will go right back to the phone. I just wanted to give this a shot and see how we do. So with that being said, we're going to move right on into our works in progress. So let's jump right into the works in progress. The first thing I want to show you is a pair of socks I've been working on. I just started these recently. I've been so enamored with finally understanding Magic Loop, so I finally started a pair of socks using Magic Loop, and they are stuck in the thing. How does this happen? Okay. So here we are. Super, super cute. I can't get too close to this camera because it won't focus. This camera is a little bit older, so it doesn't have the autofocus in video feature, which is kind of annoying. But so this is the sock. It's got these beautiful orange and navy and white. It's really fun to knit up. This is the yarn, and I got this as somebody had passed away, and one of their surviving relatives brought this to the yarn shop and was like, hey, I'm not going to do anything with this. And then Virginia was like, if you guys want any of this, feel free to take it home. So I took home some sock yarn and some really bulky, like Woolies Thick and Quick, I think. And it's like Woolies Thick and Quick Chunky or something. It uses like a 10mm crochet hook. It's really thick. I got like 11 balls of that. But this was also in those bags, and I took this, and it's really cute, and I'm enjoying it. It's a little rough. It is a little rough, but I'm hoping it will soften up with washing and blocking. It didn't have a ball band. I have no idea if this is superwash or not, so of course I will be hand washing this. So yeah, I really don't want to end up ruining this because I am enjoying the way that it is knitting up. I always do toe up, and I do a German short row or Fish Lips Kiss heel. I'm going to try a German short row again this time because I really enjoyed doing that with our knit along that we just concluded. By the way, if you are looking to do the bind off of the sock, that video is already posted, so you can find that on the channel. It might be at the end of this video, and if I can remember to do it, I will link it in the video description box below as well. But this is a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying it. These are US 2s, which is a 2.75mm, and of course magic loops. So I think this is a 32-inch or 40-inch needle. And yeah, so I'm having a lot of fun with this, but that is the first work in progress. The second work in progress is something I have actually, believe it or not, been working on for a long time. But I'm telling you what, this thing is so slow going. A friend of mine, Bruce, bought the yarn and gifted me a copy of the Wingspan shawl. And I am so excited to knit this. Or I've been working on it. It has some ridiculous stitches in it. I am learning so much about how to knit this particular pattern, but I tell you what, this is probably one of the single most complicated things I've ever knit. Like, those paragraphs are rows. Like, this is one row. That is one row. This is a ridiculous pattern. And it's got so many stitches I've never heard of. There's like a whole like instruction chart on how to do these stitches. It's ridiculous. Anyway, so that's what I'm working on, and let me show you how far I've gotten. And this is the actual yarn that the pattern was designed for, just in a different colorway. This is how far I've gotten. That's it. Hold on, I'm tangled. This is like row, oh, I don't know, 13 or 14. And I have actually messed up so many times, but I'm learning, and I'm also the kind of person, I hate ripping out work, especially something that took this long. I mean, this is like 2 weeks, because every row has 2 corresponding short rows. So every row is technically 3 rows, and it's just, there is so much involved, like a cabled slip knit and a cabled knit 2 together, and I'm getting ready to do a row that's rearranged the next 7 stitches. So you knit up to this, you take the 7 stitches, you move 1 to a needle, 1 to a cable needle, 1 to the next needle, then you put 1 from the cable needle back on, and then slip those 2, and then move 1, and then you put all 7 back, and then you knit them the next, you continue in the row after you've rearranged them, then you're gonna knit them. Oh my gosh, and that one row asks you to rearrange stitches, I think like 14 times. I don't know if I'm going to survive this pattern. I may give up. I don't want to give up because it's such a beautiful pattern, but this might be, you will see this on the podcast for probably 2 years before I finish this thing. That's just being realistic because I'm probably going to get tired of it, put it down, and want to burn it. Anyway, so this is the colorway I'm using. I think it's called Black Dragon, but I'm starting in the center. I debated on whether or not to start at the outside because I'm an outer pool kind of guy, but I decided that the pattern was designed to go kind of light to dark, so I decided to do that as well. So I am doing center pull on this. We'll see how that goes. I don't normally like center pull just because it does end up falling apart at some point, but it's going well so far. We will see. So stay tuned for updates on this if I don't burn my whole house down screaming at it. So that's fun. I am knitting this, I think, on the needle size they call for. So this is a US 3. I'm using a pretty long cable because it's going to get pretty big. A lot of times people are like, well, I'll start with a smaller cable and then I'll move to the big one and move to the big one, or move, you know, to the next one. I'll recable it every time. And I'm just like, that takes too long. I'm not going to do that. So this is the yarn. And yes, it is called Black Dragon. It's Vollelfe, Wollelfe, but it's German, I believe, because I know it came from Europe. And it is 65% merino, 35% silk. It is 800 meters. So whatever that translates to in yards, it's almost 1,000, I think. But 800 meters, really, really fun. I'm going to push myself to finish it. We'll see how that goes. The last work in progress I have currently that's actually getting any work done is a crocheted sweater. I started this week and continued working on it, and just continued and continued and continued. This is using several different scraps of different types of acrylic yarn. The main middle colors of stripes here is a Karen Cakes in the fruit salad or something colorway. The bit up here is endless loops and threads, endless impeccable, same as the bottom here. This middle bit is unlabeled, I believe it's red heart, and then this is a red heart, but I can't remember, like sweet drop or something like that, gumdrop maybe, I don't know. That's what I'm using there. So the idea for this came from, I was trying to find a crocheted sweater because I've knit a couple, but I wanted to find a crochet sweater, and I can't find one for a man that I like the pattern for. They just all seemed like weird and overly bulky, and so I decided to take what I know about top-down raglan sweater knitting and apply it to crochet and see if it worked out, and it has. There's a few modifications I want to make, but as soon as I'm done with this, as long as everything works out, I will actually switch to doing it in probably things that match, or I might even dye some yarn myself just to, you know, have something that kind of matches and looks good. But I don't hate this. I actually think it looks pretty cute. But this is not something I would wear all the time. It's something I might wear, like, if I'm gonna be in a crowd somewhere and I need people to find me. But I am enjoying the process. This did not take long. I think total this has been like 8 hours of crochet time for me. So this is like a 12-hour project. The sleeves are going to take no time at all because I'm decreasing now. So it's, if I really had a day where I could wake up, just start crocheting, and then that's all I had to do all day long, I could probably do one of these in a day. It is worsted weight, and I'm using a 5.5mm hook. So that's all the works in progress. We are now going to move into finished objects. So finished objects, I have a few, and I'm really excited about them. The first one I'm going to show you is one I actually finished quite a while ago and just forgot to put in the podcast. This is a single skein crocheted version of the Hitchhiker. I did not use a pattern. I, again, took what I kind of knew about crochet and knitting, or I took what I knew about knitting, having knit something similar, and I applied it to crochet and created something. There are patterns out there that are very similar to the Hitchhiker, because I remember when the Hitchhiker came out, the crocheters were like, oh, we need a version, we need a version, we need a version. So there are versions of this out there that are actual patterns that have been written because the Hitchhiker came out. I just made this up. I did not use a pattern. This is using a single skein of Lolo Did It's fingering weight yarn in the colorway Something Blue. This was a Christmas gift from my friend Christian about 2 years ago. Do you guys remember, for those of you who've been with me from the beginning, the first time I ever dyed yarn? And I dyed yarn and made a hat for my best friend Christian back home. Well, this is the yarn she bought me as my Christmas gift to thank me for making her the hat. She loved it so much, and she actually recently sent me a picture of her wearing it again because she went to a Killers concert, because I dyed it in the colorway that matched the cover of a Killers album, which is actually kind of awesome that the Killers are from here in Vegas, and she is from Kentucky, but she loves the Killers, so it just all kind of felt like it came together. So I really enjoyed how this turned out. It's really nice and lightweight, and it's small enough that I can wear it kind of about any time of the year and feel pretty good about it. So I'm really excited to have finished that. I did this on a 4.5mm hook, and again, it's a single skein of Lolo Did It's fingering weight yarn, so it's about 437 yards. I think I ended up not using like 8 grams or something in order to finish it. It is all, I think these are half doubles. I believe this is all half double crochet, but it may be double. I cannot remember what I did. I think it's half double. So every wedge is 10 rows. So it's a really simple pattern. I'm not going to write it out. There's plenty of other ones out there that are basically the same thing. So I'm not going to encroach on other people's pattern writing stuff. This was just for me. So the next one is one I recently finished, and I showed this as a work in progress, I believe, on the last podcast. This is the Desert Winds scarf, or shawl, and this is using Red Heart with Love in whatever the blue colorway is. And then the rest of it is using, actually, I used this color to finish it because I ran out of yarn, and then border it, of course. And then I used the rest of that skein to start the crocheted sweater I showed in the works in progress. So both worsted weight yarns, I used a 6.5mm hook, and the pattern is really simple. It's free on Ravelry, Desert Wind Scarf, and it's really simple. It's actually a very, very quick crochet, and you don't have to do anything crazy with it. In fact, all of the stitches are done in the chain spaces, so you're not having to work into a stitch. It goes very, very fast. I really enjoyed making this. This is actually the second one I have made. So yeah, check this out. If you're a beginner crocheter, this is a really great pattern. I think you would really enjoy doing this. But it's nice and long, and it's open, which is great for Vegas. I love open pieces. This has not been blocked, but I don't think I really need to. If I'm gonna block it, I'm just gonna throw it through the washer, just to loosen up the stitches. But it's gorgeous. I'm really proud of this. And yeah, that's the second finished object I have. The third finished object is, ta-da, my socks from our sock along. So I promise this is the same skein of yarn. It doesn't look like it's the same skein of yarn, but it is the same skein of yarn. This is my hand-dyed. This is Spargur Yarn Co.'s Power Surge. This was kind of a one time, just threw some new colors onto some yarn just to see what would happen. Anyway, these are first socks I've knit in a really long time, I feel. It has been a while. Anyway, so toe up, and then German short row heel, and then I knit until I had about 10 grams of yarn left, did a twisted rib bind off, or excuse me, twisted rib cuff, and then I did the yarn over bind off so that they fit perfectly over my very large man calves. And I couldn't be happier. These have not been blocked. Every time I block them, they end up too big. So that's probably just my fault, but also I don't need to. And because this is superwash, they're just going to go through the wash anyway. I have found that I will just toss my hand knit superwash wool socks into my laundry because I wash on cold. I don't have a problem. They don't seem to have an issue with the regular laundry. So there's not much else to say about these. I knit these on a US 2 needle like I do most of my socks. Actually, one of these I found out was accidentally on a 2.5, a US 2.5, which I think is a 3mm, or a 3.25mm maybe. And whoops! But that's okay. Somehow my gauge is the same on both of those needles, and that's kind of a weird thing. Anyway, they turned out great. I intend to wear them when it starts getting cold here, which is going to be like another 4 months, but they are, my hand knit socks make great house socks. I usually wear them when I'm home. I don't usually wear them out because it's never cold enough, but I do wear them when I'm at home. So, woo! And I have one final finished object, and you guys saw this on the last podcast. This actually didn't take me as long as I thought it would for the size that it is, but I'm very proud of it. I might make another one. I don't know. Maybe not quite this size, because I do have a couple baby blankets I need to make, but I don't want to do quite this size. Anyway, I finished the study of texture Afghan. And this is going to be really hard to show all of. Hold on, I'm going to have to, like, swim in it. So I'm going to get to the center so you can see the center, because the sides are all the same. But, so you can kind of see all the fun textures. This was so much fun to make, but by the time I got to this basket weave, I was ready to be done. The only thing I changed on this blanket was I did not do the picot border. I tried it, I hated it, it looked awful. Also, I really didn't understand how Mikey made his picots. It was like chain 3 and then slip stitch like backwards into the previous stitch and then keep going. I didn't like it. I didn't understand the instructions. I wasn't about to try and pull out the video, and honestly, I just wanted to be done with the thing. So I just did single crochets. Honestly, I think that actually ends the blanket better. The picot is nice, but it's kind of out of place in my opinion. So instead, I really think the single crochet border is much better. I think it's a better option. Even a half double would have looked better, I think. So this is what I chose to do. That's the only thing I changed. I then just gave it a wash and a block, I just did it a wash and a dry, through a regular wash cycle, and it softened right up. I used 2 balls of Loops and Threads Endless Impeccable. Endless Impeccable has 1,790 yards of yarn per ball. They are huge balls. You can get them at Michael's. They're kind of there, kind of not. My Michael's has actually gone down, it's just gone down the drain. I don't know what happened, but they've stopped carrying a lot of really nice stuff. It's just a mess. The yarn is everywhere. Most of the time, it's being held together with pieces of paper and tape. They're like, we think it's this for this price. And it's awful. I've actually stopped shopping at Michael's because it's just never good. None of the stores here in Vegas, they're just not taking care of their stuff. The product looks awful. They're focusing so much on their seasonal stuff. The rest just looks like crap. So I don't know how often I'll be going back to Michael's. I might go to Michael's in other places, but the ones here in Vegas, they're a nightmare, and I don't want to go back, which is sad because I love Karen cakes. Anyway, it has to be over 1,800 yards of yarn. Okay, other than the fact that I did use part of this for the bottom of that sweater, this used to come out to here. I don't know if you can see my hand. The ball used to be this big. And I used 2 balls, and they're both this small now. So it takes a lot of yarn. Really happy I did it though. I think I'm going to do some smaller versions, but having crocheted something like this with so much texture and really putting myself into that challenge, I found so many other cool textured crochet blankets that I really want to try, and I'm really excited to get some of those done. And I've actually found some really awesome budget-friendly yarns that look incredible that I definitely want to try, and when those things are in my possession and I'm ready to start those things, I will definitely show those things to you. But for now, we're going to move on with the podcast. So I want to give you guys an update on the poncho that I designed for Skeino yarn. The testers have done the pattern. Oddly enough, no issues, which I thought was incredible. No issues at all with any of my testers. They all completed it without any problem, both the knit and the crochet border. I think that's amazing. I'm really proud, and I want to thank those people who did test. I don't actually know all of your real names. I just know who you are on Instagram or in email, other than Bruce, who I talk to on a regular basis. So for those of you who tested my pattern, thank you so much. The pattern has been edited. It has been sent off to Skeino. The poncho is packed over here, ready to go into the mail so that she can get it, take the pictures, and then as soon as I have a release date, I will let you know. For those of you who are interested, you can buy the pattern for $7 as a standalone, or you can buy the poncho patterns as a kit through Skeino. They will be selling it as a kit with the pattern included. It's 7 skeins of worsted weight yarn, so it is a little pricey, but if you are interested in knitting that with the yarn that I designed it in, Skeino will be selling that as a kit, which I think is really exciting. And then in the future, they will be including it in future ebooks, which I think is also exciting. This is probably the first time that, actually this is the first time I will have a pattern that is going to be like out there through another company for the world to see, which is blowing my mind. That would not have been possible without all of you guys having nurtured me and encouraged me since the beginning of this podcast. So thank you guys. You guys really are the reason that this has gotten to where it has, and I hope that you will be interested in the pattern. And don't worry, after the pattern is released, there will be giveaways later. In fact, I am going to ask April if she would be willing to give me 1 kit to give away on the podcast. I don't know if she's going to be able to do that, but I will let you know as soon as I get an answer from her. I just want to thank you guys so much for being really the backbone of how all of this came together. So thank you, and thank you again. So let's move on yet again to another part in the podcast, which I will let you know about as soon as I look at my notes. So I want to give you guys an update on the future of the podcast. In the last podcast, I asked you guys, does the name of this podcast still reflect what I've been trying to do here? Does it still reflect the budget part of the show? And have I done a good enough job of trying to explain what I mean by budget? Not that you're cheap, just that you're smart. I got a lot of really great feedback, a lot of things to think about. I mean, you guys gave me a ridiculous amount of things to think about. And so I haven't made a decision yet. So for the time being, I will continue to call this the Budget Knitter Podcast, but there are a lot of things I want to think about, a lot of things I want to think about in terms of direction and content and who I want to be and who I want to present on this channel. So don't expect a change soon, but if and when I decide to make any kind of change, there will be a really formal announcement, and you will not miss it, I promise. So I just want to thank you all again for being so upfront and forward and helping me when I have questions about kind of what I've been doing and how I present myself to you and the content that I bring you. So just thank you again so much for everything that you have done for me in terms of this podcast, and it really has given me a lot to think about as I move forward. So again, thank you. And with that being said, we are going to move on to something that I'm really excited to announce, and I will get to that in just a moment. Okay, so one of the things I want to start doing on this podcast for sure is that I definitely want to start doing a giveaway every podcast. I think that's the best way that I can give back to you guys for everything that you have done for me. And so these giveaways are going to include yarn, tools. They're going to be both budget friendly and some of the nicer stuff. For those of you who crochet, I'm looking at getting some really nice furls crochet hooks to give away for those of you who are interested in those, or maybe if you want to learn to crochet. Some of my hand-dyed yarns will be included in this. I am looking at getting more hand-dyeds from different people that maybe have a smaller following or something, just so I can bring awareness to them and their company. There's a lot of really cool things that I want to do. So I want to start doing a giveaway every podcast, so I'll announce what the prize is, I'll give you a prompt, and then on the next podcast, I'll announce the winner. which will be followed by the next item that I'll be giving away. I think that's really going to, well, it'll bring me joy. I love giving you guys things, and I haven't done it in a while. And I know at one point I said I was going to do a really big one. I ran into a lot of issues, especially with shipping costs, which is something I should have foreseen. And so I do apologize that that never came to fruition. So I'm hoping that this is going to take the place of that by giving you more opportunities. Another thing is I will be doing, instead of doing a number thing and counting the number of comments, I will be using a random comment picker, which means that I am not going to be deciding whether or not you can win multiple times. By using a random comment picker, I just think that's the best way to do things, and then there's no human error there. So I'll be doing that to pick my winners so that there's also no personal bias. For those of you who are asking, yes, international entries are welcome. Just know that if it is an international entry and you are the winner, that it may take me a little bit longer to be able to get your prize to you. That being said, it's not impossible. Also, shipping from America just takes forever. I don't know why. It's really stupid. But international people, you are welcome to enter. And with that being said, I want to show you what I'm going to be giving away on this podcast. And this podcast, I'm going to be giving away a skein of Stitch Studio by Nicole. This, believe it or not, is acrylic yarn. This I got when I went to a retreat with my friend Izzy and the OC Fiberistas. That was back in April. I got like 4 skeins of this, and I love it, but I don't need that many. And it's also, I think it's been discontinued. So this is a really cool discontinued yarn. But anyway, it is a DK weight yarn. It is 45% acrylic, 45% polyester, and 10% wool, and it is approximately 492 yards or 150 grams. By the way, 492 yards, almost 500 yards of DK weight yarn, and it's got a really cool hand-dyed look to it. So you're getting the budget friendliness of an acrylic yarn, but with the luxury look of a hand-dyed yarn, which I think is amazing. I think whoever wins this is going to absolutely love it. This colorway does not have a name, it's just a number. So you can machine wash this on warm, just do not iron it. Anyway, so that is going to be the giveaway prize for this podcast. Now, in order to win, I gotta remember what my prompt was. Oh, okay, yes, because I am trying to think about this. Please, in the comment section, tell me your favorite single skein fingering weight project. Fingering weight, single skein, favorite project, knit or crochet, either is fine. I have been keeping skeins of my own hand-dyed yarn because I haven't been doing that at all until recently. So I want something to do in these single skeins of yarn so that I have examples of how this yarn knits or crochets up. So if you will tell me in the comment section your favorite fingering weight single skein project, paid, free, Ravelry, or not on Ravelry, if you find it on, what are some of those other sites? There's other sites too that have patterns that aren't on Ravelry. So, you know, wherever the pattern is, if it's not on Ravelry, please link it so that I can see it, because as young and tech-savvy as I am, I have trouble finding things on the internet. I don't know why. Anyway, so if it's not on Ravelry, please link it. Otherwise, if it's on Ravelry, just tell me and then I should be able to find it. But leave that comment, and just 1 entry per person, please. And then when we do the next podcast, I will announce the winner. So yeah, I hope you're excited about that. I hope that's going to be a fun thing to do. And yeah, I look forward to continue to give things away. And as I find new things and new products, I'm excited to bring those things to you. Also, if you are the winner, try to see if you can let me know soon. I actually have people from like the massive giveaway I did 6 or 7 months ago. I have people that still haven't contacted me for that. And at this point, like, I'm sorry, I don't know what those yarn and prizes are anymore. And to be honest, I've probably used some of it. So let me know when you If you win, let me know pretty soon, okay? Cool, so moving on. Okay, so that does it for all of the yarn and fiber related parts of this podcast. If you are only here for the yarn and fiber related things, I shall see you again soon, and thank you for joining me. If you are here for the life updates, I just have a couple of little things I'm going to touch on, and then we will say our little pieces and say goodbye. So, I've got an order here. So, I have a roommate. Her name is Delilah. She's a coworker. She works in the contact center on the first floor, and I work on the second floor, but we've known each other for a few months, and she's really cool. She needed a place, and so she will be moving in. She had a storage unit with a bunch of her stuff, but I was like, hey, the garage is empty. You can just store your stuff in the garage. Not a big deal. I don't have a problem with that at all. You can save some money. So she started moving some stuff in today, and she'll move the rest of the storage unit over next weekend, and then the weekend after that should be the weekend that she moves in permanently. So I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited to have someone else in the house. She's also kind of OCD about cleaning, and she's like, don't get offended if I come up behind you and clean. I'm not going to be offended about anybody cleaning up at all. So thanks, Delilah. I will help her, I promise. Anyway, so she'll be moving in soon. I'm really excited about that. And she has a dog named Duke. He's kind of like a medium-sized dog. He's been over here to meet Princess and Duchess, but he's got a lot of anxiety, so he was kind of growling a lot. But I think the more that he's here, the better he'll be. He is a nice dog, so I'm excited about that. Okay. On a little bit of a more serious note, my mother-in-law, or ex-mother-in-law, I don't know what to call her at this point. She is in the hospital. She is at 13% kidney function. We are not expecting her to go much longer. We don't know if she just doesn't have any fight left in her, or if she doesn't care. We don't really know what's going on, because apparently she knew back in 2012 that her kidneys were failing, and she never did anything about it. So we're a little worried about where that is leading. So that is something that we're currently worried about. You know, she was an important part of my life for several years, so you know, I still care about her, and I'm still worried about how that's going to turn out. So we will have to continue to monitor the situation and see what happens. But that being said, she seems happy. She seems like she's doing okay, but I don't think the doctors don't think there's much that they can do at this point, especially if she's not willing to make any changes. So it's kind of just a wait and see situation, and it sucks, but such is life sometimes, I guess. Just gotta deal with it as it happens. So if anything changes, I'll let you know. Last thing, I finally made the conscious decision to eat healthier foods and to try to better my body physically, mentally. I'm trying meditation to see if that kind of just calms things down. I believe in kind of energy and giving energy and positive and negative and karma and things like that. And so one of the things that I actually believe in pretty decently is the power of crystals. Things like amethyst and rose quartz and the healing qualities that those crystals can have. So I've been kind of experimenting with crystals and just trying to balance out some of the energy in my house. So at least that when I'm here, I can feel a little more whole and can tackle the things that I'm having difficulty tackling when I'm not at home. So I've been just trying to make my house a more balanced place energy-wise so that I can feel a little more focused and whole and put together. But that has led to eating healthier. It has not yet led to being in control of my mind enough to go and exercise. That's still something I have to work on. But in the number of times that I have tried to be healthier, I've always started with exercising, and that never ends well. So I decided this time that I need to make changes to my diet, because the diet is going to affect me mentally, because I'm going to cut out sugar, I'm going to cut out dairy, I'm going to be eating less meat, I'm going to be focusing more on fruits and vegetables and other forms of protein, and that is going to mess with me mentally. I know that, because especially cutting out sugar, I'm going to go through withdrawals, and it's probably going to make me angry and antsy, which is another reason I'm trying to balance the energy in the house, is because I don't need that all the time. I want to feel calm at times. So that is something I'm trying, and I'm hoping it's going to work. So far, I'm doing well. I have only kind of screwed that up once, but I have found that also quitting drinking alcohol as much as I have, including wine, it's helping. It's helping me put me in a place where I can make better decisions for my body. So I'm hoping as this podcast progresses, you will actually see me slowly start to lose weight. The goal is to lose about 50 pounds. 200 is about my good weight. And I know that sounds high, but I actually have a really wide rib cage, and I've always had a really wide rib cage, even at 175. But if you go back and look at pictures of me at 175 pounds, I actually look sick. Like, I look like I'm not eating. So we've kind of figured out that 200 is about my ideal body, what's the word? Shape, distribution. Anyway, that's where I'll look my healthiest. I'll look like I'm healthy, but I won't look like I'm sick. So that is the goal. So I'm at 250 now, and I'm hoping to get to 200. I know it's going to be a really long journey, but I know that it's going to be worth it. I know I'm going to feel better, both physically and mentally, and so I'm really excited about making that progress. So I hope that you will eventually be able to see some changes in me. And I'm hoping that losing weight is also going to encourage me to be like, all right, look, you've done the eating healthy thing, let's start doing the gym thing again. And so hopefully that's gonna, I'm really excited to see these changes happen in me, and I hope that you will continue to notice that journey if it's noticeable at all. But that being said, I feel a lot better. I've been feeling really good these last weeks. This last week was kind of hard, but these last weeks have been great, and I'm just really excited for the future. So I want to thank you guys so much for joining me, and thank you for just everything, the support and the love that you give me, and I really hope that you will continue to follow me on my journey. So if you made it to the end of this podcast and you're new, make sure you subscribe and hit that little bell so you can get notifications every time I upload a video, and I will see you all again very soon here on the Budget Knitter Podcast channel. Thanks. Bye.